It took 20 years for the third installment of the Predator franchise to arrive, so with the original being an all-time classic and the second film being mixed at best, where would this third film stand? Well, I for one feel it falls on the positive side of the line. It is certainly a much better film than the second, without question. It doesn't touch the first, not by a long shot, but it is a step back in the right direction and a sequel worthy of its name. Now, Predators borrows many aspects from the original. It feels a lot like the first film. The jungle environment helps in that regard. Again, I said when I reviewed the second film that the urban environment wasn't a downside, the story was just mediocre. But the jungle just feels like the home of the Predator. That is its true hunting ground. Now this time the story is a compelling one. It piqued my interest immediately to see these various Special Forces members being dropped straight into the unknown. There was 8 of them in total, 9 if you include the guy whose chute didn't open, and they ranged from being black ops, mercenaries, yakuza, militia, just all sorts of groups spanning across Earth. Now mentioning Earth is vital because that is not where the film takes place. These people snatched up by the Predators found that they had been dropped onto an alien planet which was being used as a game preserve. And they were the game. It was a miracle the group didn't tear each other apart at first. A few of them took a few shots at one another before they all got their bearings together, but once they realised the jungle they were in and the planet they were on was not one that they could escape from, they needed a new plan. The infighting stopped, and the group as a whole needed to work together if they had any hope of getting off the planet. Adrian Brody's Royce was our leading man. He wasn't in the same calibre as Arnie or Glover, but he did an okay job. I think the problem more so that I have with Royce is that his character is just so unlikable. That isn't the actor's fault, though he wouldn't have been my first choice, fair to say, but having our lead character who isn't an all-and-out good guy was a bold move. He's a lone wolf, doesn't play well with others and would rather be left alone. I respect that, changing up the formula a bit. Royce even set up those he was with to try and gain some intel on the Predators. He's a bad dude and not afraid to show it. Whereas Alice Braga's Isabel is the only real one there with some parts of a conscience. They're all killers, but at least she cares from time to time about the people in her group. Though it probably would have gotten her killed early on if it wasn't for Royce sensing that trap. Now those two were essentially the main pair of the film, with Isabel in a constant struggle with Royce to get him to stick around. They all fought off an attack from the Predator's dogs which flushed them out, which was a very cool sequence. And after the group went looking for the Predator's camp, Isabel laid eyes on one of the Predator's own, who was strung up and left to die. She then knew what they were up against. She'd heard the tales and accounts of what Dutch reported after his ordeal, and after a mauling at the hands of 3 different predator types, they decided to set up shop, defend the perimeter, and take the fight to them. That was when they ran into Noland, a survivor who'd been dropped into the preserve countless seasons ago. He'd killed at least 2 predators in the past, was using their cloaking technology, and had the know-how to help out the group. Having an actor like Lawrence Fishburne show up will always elevate your film. He's just such a legend in the industry, and he may have not been around for long, but he made his impression, attempted to salvage everything that the group had, and was then blown to pieces after Royce called in the cavalry. To call in the Predators was itself a desperate move, but he had no choice. They were being smoked out by Noland, and that was his only option. That started the beginning of the constant bloodshed, shall we say, as Nikolai, Stans and Hanzo all met their fates. They were able to take out 2 of the 3 predators though. Nikolai cooked a couple of grenades when he was about to fall, and Hanzo duelled a predator in a single sword versus wristblade combat, which ended on a stalemate. Hanzo didn't have much to do or say throughout the entire film, but him staying behind felt very much like Billy in the original, and it was a badass moment. Now, throughout all of our members of this team, Topher Grace's Edwin just didn't fit. Dropped in the midst of murderers, mercenaries, and he was a doctor? Nah, he stuck out like a sore thumb, and after he was wounded and Royce left him and Isabel behind, he revealed what he truly was. He was playing them all along. He paralysed Isabel with a neurotoxin and was about to finish her off. And it was a good thing for her Royce decided to show up, proving that he had a little humanity in him as he got them out of that hole, saw through Edwin's guise and left him as bait. Which paid off. Royce cut down the classic Predator to help aid him in his escape. It was a smart, albeit dangerous play, and the classic Predator may have lost the battle, but it gave Royce the precious commodity of time. He and Isabel were able to kill the final remaining Predator, but there was no time to celebrate as the next wave of drops were inbound to the preserve. My overall verdict for Predators is a 7 out of 10. It is a good addition to the Predator franchise. While never lighting the sky on fire, it does succeed in enveloping you into its world. It shares a familiar beat to the original. It borrows multiple ideas from there. It overdoes it a tad with a few too many exact lines, but at least it knows which film to borrow from, so I suppose there's that. Adrian Brody is, as I've said, an okay lead. He's not really moulded like Dutch or Harrigan are, so in retrospect, he is the weakest lead in the franchise. He does his best, but out of everyone involved, the exceptional Walton Goggins steals all of his scenes as the convicted serial killer who is on death row. He's just a talent in every which way and deserves praise for his supporting role. Danny Trejo was cool for his short screen time, it's a shame he didn't survive longer, and Topher Grace's deceiving doctor was one of the more interesting characters. Now to the Predators. To name them all, we had the Berserker Predator, Tracker Predator, Falconer Predator, and of course we have the classic Predator. This was a sensible way to expand the alien species. Each of these types specialises in various techniques, and it was pretty cool to see the vastly varied types of Predator hunting in their preserve. And the CGI, it is the best ever. The cloaking, especially in camouflage, was absolutely outstanding visually. Such a good job by the effects team. The cloaking is one of the signature characteristics of the Predators, so to see such detail given to it was such a pleasing moment. Now my favourite segment rather than specific scene in the film, I'm going to have to say the opening 35 minutes or so. I just like the idea of the chaotic beginning being dropped onto an alien planet from the get-go. It just arose your attention. Royce's final standoff against the Predator was one of the other highlights of the film. It never reached the level of when Dutch faced off against his foe, but it was elevated by the classic Predator fighting off against one of the newer Predator types. Predator versus Predator just sounds appealing, and it adds to the backstory of how much rich detail this universe can have. Predators is its own movie. It heavily borrows some elements from the first film, but it is a sequel worthy of its name. It is a good addition to the franchise and a step in the right direction. It broke the mould of the two previous films with its drastically varied story, and it deserves credit for that. And with The Predator, the new addition to the franchise due out later this year, let's hope that it too can improve, add and enrich this sci-fi franchise to bring us a worthy sequel. So what did you all think of Predators? What did you think about the new types of Predator introduced? And do you feel it was an improvement over Predator 2? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.